Apple just had its WWDC, and in it, they announced all of the updates and developments that they've been doing to all of their ecosystem. This year, they unveiled their first AR/VR headset device called Vision Pro. I'm going to be sharing my first impression of the Vision Pro as a designer. So I really wanted to bring to the table the designer's perspective. Hello everyone, my name is Simon. I'm a designer, professor, and theorist. And on this channel, I am taking a holistic view at the whole world of design, from its theory to its lifestyle. Apple's new AR/VR headset might not be what people think it is, but before diving into its design, my insights, and my review about it, let's just do a quick recap. If you've already seen and know about the Vision Pro, then just look down in the description below and look at the timestamps. You can just jump into the actual insights. The Vision Pro is Apple's first generation device for an AR/VR headset. It is the first product we're looking through and not at from Apple. The device, using spatial computing, lets its user place window apps anywhere in the room. We're no longer limited by any display window. We are free to scale and locate our windows in our environment anywhere we want. Multiple apps can coexist together and adapt to the presence of other active apps. The headset has no input controllers. You use your hands, voice, and eyes instead, the most intuitive human tools we have. You can pinch and flip your fingers to select and scroll. Your eyes can activate apps, and by looking at a search bar, you can start inputting text by speaking, as well as give commands to Siri to operate apps. With these tools, we can scale the movie windows to take up all the space in the room and dim the lights, making it feel like we are in a theater, or with the environment feature, which lets you transform your space into anything you want. The top of a mountain or the middle of space increases your immersion, so you can watch the movies anywhere you want. By not being constrained by a display and the ability of apps to coexist, we can have supplemental information to whatever we are watching. A sports game can have the player stats and strategy walkthroughs, while movies can have information about the lore of the fantasy world we are watching the story unfold in. The Vision Pro is an extension of the Apple ecosystem, letting you use the trackpads, the keyboards, as well as transport your Mac screen and apps from the Mac screen to the Vision Pro space. Vision Pro develops the way we view and capture photos and videos. It can extend panoramas around you and lets you record 3D videos to rewatch them and have a closer representation of that moment. You can receive 3D objects and look at them, and you can watch 3D movies. The design of the headset itself is very modern and simplistic. The headset starts with a single sheet of curved glass that holds an array of cameras and sensors captured by the light metal frame, with a button to capture photos or summon the home screen, and a wheel for immersion calibration. The whole computer is housed in the frame, containing a dual chip system. The M2 chip for visual computing and the R1 for real-time sensor processing. The straps house the audio pods to create ambient audio, and to which its acoustics are matched to the space topography and materiality with audio ray tracing. The headset is tethered to a battery with a 2-hour lifespan by a woven cord, or indefinite use if plugged to an outlet. The headset itself is modular, where the light shield, flexible straps, and the crown can be exchanged and modified to create the most comfortable wearing experience for you. By scanning your face, Vision Pro creates your persona, a high-definition digital representation of your face and hands that you can use when you are in a video conference or a call while using Vision Pro. And finally, we have Optic ID. Vision Pro uses and creates by scanning your iris and using it as your key to unlocking your device. And that is a recap of what the Vision Pro is in a nutshell. Let's start by defining what exactly is augmented reality technology and our understanding of its purpose and design at this point in time. At its most basic core, augmented reality uses spatial computing to understand the topography of a space to project a digital layer of information to that physical space. In this way, the digital layer becomes a tool to enhance the physical experience. Let's now dive into my thoughts as a designer. I am definitely very excited about this product. This is one of the biggest personal technology companies taking a step and developing a product into the AR technology design space, which is very, very exciting. Personally, I think augmented reality is the technology of the future, above even virtual reality. Once the right device is developed and distributed, augmented reality will be replacing our smartphones and our apps. I really like that the Vision Pro has no controllers, but instead they're using the most intuitive tools for us humans, our own body parts, right? Our hands, our eyes, and our voice. All the movements required to operate the device seem very natural, and from what I have been able to see, the sensors are very, very accurate and powerful to be able to register the most minimal of gestures. The UI is simple and modern, very Apple-like. It's very intuitive as to what it is for, and it's minimal to not be obtrusive to the experience by having window frames being very light, translucent, and very minimalistic all around. I like how apps are not constrained by a display, and instead they can be anywhere in the room. This is very big for me personally, as I usually like to work with a lot of open content in a parallel fashion as I'm designing. I like to have my notes, my references, my music, and any other type of content when I'm brainstorming or designing, because I just want to have the source of the content available so my head doesn't have to hold that information and I'm just diving into the actual processing and generating the design. And I've always felt very restricted by the digital options of our time, where I can at best practically have, two windows and one display at a time opened for it to actually mean something in my process. But then when going into physical media, I like that I can have and arrange all of my sources however I want, but the content itself is very stationary and limited. So I've always been, having this tension between these two setups. And I think the way that Vision Pro is letting you marry these two, the best of the two worlds, is fantastic for me. Something that I'm really looking forward to trying out. Vision Pro participating with the Apple ecosystem is big and necessary, and quite frankly expected of Apple at this point in time. I really like how you can take your work from one device and throw it into the Vision Pro space to keep working on it in a more isolated and immersive way, and using your keyboard when wanting to type and work through an email or project notes. And the feature of environments, it's really helpful to create this focused state, right? This bubble of isolation where you want to just cut out any input from the outside world, and it's only you and your work. The features of 3D videos or 3D movies is not that big for me personally at the moment. I might reverse this opinion when I actually see them. I did like the feature to be able to send 3D files or 3D objects or models via messages and emails, because that is incredibly helpful for designers and developers and engineers to communicate and just share prototypes and have the physicality of a physical model, but have the digital ease of transporting it and sending it and communicating the idea. So I really, really like that. We also have the features having to create a 3D persona of yourself to show when having a video call with someone, which I don't think it's ideal. It's like a layer 2 solution that was brought by the limitations of how the AR device, or just the natural scenario of having a headset and not having a camera looking at you. I don't love it because from a design standpoint, the device itself is kind of introducing a problem that it needs to fix. But I also do understand that it's really an issue of the format of a headset rather than Apple's decisions. There's also the issue of having to offer an extremely detailed scan of your face to do this, as well as your iris scan to unlock Vision Pro, which Apple has the enclave system to maintain privacy and your data secure, but you are essentially, at the end of it, ultimately giving a higher fidelity of your biometrics to a company which its code is not open source. The stage where Vision Pro is at and what we were shown, it seems like right now Vision Pro is made for an isolated experience. There were no features showing people being able to share the movie that they're looking at, the environment. It just seems like it's not for a collective experience at the moment. It's really for an isolated experience. Which it's a bit weird because the whole ecosystem of Apple as of late has been pushing towards this easiness of, hey, I'm listening to this media, I'm looking at this video, look at it, you too, right? Like I can share it, so now you see what I'm seeing. AirDrop, right? Where you can easily just share files, like iCloud, where, you know, all of the family members can be connected to a single iCloud and everyone has the same drive for your pictures. And so it's like the whole ecosystem revolves around like sharing the media. So it's really about not being isolated into the device, but rather as an ecosystem, as a medium to connect via the media that you are consuming. But in this case, it was totally inversed. It's like, this is a completely isolated experience. And when you take into account the actual price point of this device, from what I could see, a very high quality piece of equipment with great detail to their navigational experience, but coming at $3,500 is going to, by default, just by economics, is going to limit the adoption and the usage, and therefore there's not really going to be a lot of network of these devices to really connect, at least in this first generation. I think when we hear AR technology, we think of this digital overlay that uses the topography of space to enhance the physicality of our experience in space. But in Vision Pro's case, it seems like it's the inverse. The focus of the Vision Pro is not enhancing your experience of the space, but rather using that space to enhance the experience of your media, which is subtle but very important design or perspective. And again, it's not necessarily bad that they are doing it like that, but as we're reviewing it, it's really important to keep that in the forefront of our minds. And this focus of being on the media instead of the space is reflected in some design decisions, like where the content is present, right? Like you have all of your apps, all of the content is like right in the middle, right in front of your space. Like your vision, the focus is the content, not the space. If it were the space, then you would have all that information more towards the sides. But it's also, if you think about it, like the type of media that you're consuming, like movies, games, and all of these things that the headset is trying to create a new experience for, a new way to consume this media. It's not really information for your peripherals. It's actually media or information for your focus. And this is also further reflected in the feature of environments, even though it's a very cool feature, pushing people towards isolation. Now, there's also the component of the scale of the headset. The headset itself is really compact, but it's still not compact enough. For AR to really take off, we actually need to get to like this level of a device size, right? Where it's almost inconspicuous to have. You're having a massive headset. You're not always going to have that. It's not going to be comfortable. Your neck is going to get fatigued at some point. And that coupled with battery life, which is it only has a 2-hour lifespan. Of course, you can use it indefinitely when it's plugged in, but you have to have it plugged into a wall. You're anchored to a wall, which again is just another vector of design that is just pushing this particular device to be an isolated, almost stationary experience. Our technology keeps progressing, like we are creating ever smaller pieces of computer that are ever more powerful. So it might be that in Vision Pro, like 4th generation, we're actually looking at something way more compact. The cord of the battery is also pretty weird. It's not optimal, but I think it's an issue that can be fixed as time progresses. The same thing. It's, you know, this progression curve for technology. Battery life will get longer and ever more smaller batteries. So at some point, I think the actual battery pack, which, you know, it's most likely it was placed on the pocket to alleviate and subtract from the weight of the headset being in your actual head, just to avoid that neck fatigue. But at some point, I think we're actually going to have it incorporated into the headset on the head. Now, granted, this is the 1st generation device of the Vision Pro, and it's doing a lot of amazing things. So don't feel like by me saying that it's not the AR device that we're expecting to, it's like looking down at everything that Vision Pro and Apple has done on this device. This is actually like a major milestone for the technology. Apple has done an amazing job at taking the most basic concept of spatial computing and developing as much as they can around it and on it. to develop what is in reality a new platform and device that's going to define a new category and establish the principles of design for this technology and these devices. And it's going to just influence the space for the upcoming years, maybe the next decade. I can see how Vision Pro could be the next Mac, iPod, or iPhone to revolutionize a particular space of design. Time will tell if this ends up just being a very, very expensive toy, or if this actually becomes the first generation of a revolution of AR technology and personal devices. And with that said, we have arrived at the end of the video. If you like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the like button, and I'll do all that good stuff because it really does help move the channel and my content through YouTube's algorithm. If you have any thoughts, right, about augmented reality, about Vision Pro, about Apple, I would love to start a conversation with you on the comment section below the video. You can connect with me via Twitter at Simon Hoffiz. Until then, I will see you in the next video.